So listen, everyone, obviously I'm going to be making some forward-looking statements. As Robert mentioned, we're an Arizona-focused company. In many ways, we're still a relatively new company, still very much underneath the radar for many investors. We just finished our initial drill program on our Corral Copper project, which I'll speak on the most, and we've released some fantastic results. I'm talking over 100 meters of over 1% copper, as well as over a half a gram gold, all very shallow, starting at surface, and all within our private lands in the largest copper producing state in the US, that being kind of Arizona. We certainly have more results coming kind of very soon. We have two other exciting drill ready projects also in Arizona, which I'll touch on, each of which holds significant new discovery potential. And I think we're very well positioned for the commodity super cycle that Chen mentioned earlier. And I think we've got tremendous growth. The team, of course, we've assembled a great team that really covers all of the key areas, the markets, geology, engineering, permitting, as well as sustainability. So we started off the year with a bang, really. We closed 6.6 million in January. I know the market has been tough for many, so we're very successful in being able to close what we did. Effectively, we raised it in December and closed it in January. And then began our initial drill program at Corral Copper in February. So off to a great start. We completed just shy of about 5,000 meters within 25 holes, and glad to say every hole that we drilled hit shallow mineralization, and we still have over 3 million left in the treasury. As you can see, we only have 45 million shares outstanding. Management certainly heavily invested, and Crescat, they've been a great and supportive shareholder since day one. I think considering our current market cap, shares outstanding, and certainly our project portfolio, which includes shallow, high-grade copper within private lands, we're really just getting started on our growth here. So, take you around the neighborhood here. You can see the location of our projects. We have our Mesa Well Copper Project in Graham County to the north, which is home to many of the major mining companies and the large Laramide porphyry copper deposits. And then we have our Tombstone South project and our Corral Copper project, both in Cochise County and only about 30 kilometers from each other. A key takeaway from this map, and Robert touched on it earlier, all of our projects are outside national or state forests. They're all already permitted for drilling and all are in mine-friendly jurisdictions. Cochise County in particular, as an example, has a rich history of mining, with the Copper Queen mine in the town of Bisbee. It produced over 8 billion pounds of copper in its day. And then we have the Johnson Camp and Gunnison mine to the north, which have a combined 5 million pounds of copper. And it's important to point out that the Gunnison project received its mine permit back in 2019, and they got that permit in 2.5 years. Again, showing that a new mine can get built in Arizona, especially within the county that two of our key projects are in. So our Corral Copper project is really an exciting and advanced stage project that has a long history of smaller scale mining and exploration. What really makes this project so unique is we had to corral a whole bunch of fragmented land ownership. There were several different property owners, all that held different rights throughout the area. Individually, each of these areas had limited scalability. There were groups that were suing each other, and there was a lot of bad blood between property owners. However, we went about and established positive relationships as the first priority with a lot of the key stakeholders. And since that time, we've been able to acquire now over 9,500 acres, with 1,800 acres of those being, private lands and patented mining claims. I'm going to, show you here in a moment a 3-kilometer trend of all near surface mineralization. You can kind of see it on the image here as well. And it's really important to note that the source of all of this mineralization is yet to be found. And, now with our district scale property, we can start to look at this and explore it, unlike many of the other previous operators. So here you can see the 3 kilometer trend of mineralization that we've been able to identify primarily from a lot of the historical data. You can certainly see the footprint of copper, gold, silver, and zinc mineralization. So what we're really looking at is a strong polymetallic system here with valuable and essential metals such as, zinc, copper, and silver as well. And not to mention gold, which I'll touch on here as well. It's important to point out that a lot of the historical drilling was also very fragmented. Some just focused on gold exploration, some are focused on copper exploration. So again, we're just starting to piece, or we just completed piecing the property all together. Now we've got to start, piecing the geological model together. Once again, it's important to point out that the mineralization that you see here is all within our private lands. So from a drilling permit, essentially drilling Holiday and ERP, all we had to do was call the county and let them know what we're doing. So it was more of a dial before you dig type of permitting process. So it wasn't a permitting process, it was just notification. That 15 or that 3 kilometer trend is still only about 15% of our entire property. So it's, tremendous upside remains. So what you see here in this 3 kilometer trend is not all that we have. It's just the starting point for us. So, while we did have that advantage of having historical data, we had some drill logs, historical essay reports, and, that helped guide us once we put the information in Leapfrog, but no drill core remained. And this really goes back to that local feuding. The drill core was essentially destroyed. It was stored on the wrong guy's property. There was bankruptcies. So we really do have to drill this area. And we've certainly learned a lot by being able to see a lot of the core for the first time. So, and these are some of the results that we have. These are just some of the results that we released so far. Certainly more driller results coming very soon. And as you can see, we certainly have mineable widths of almost 200 meters starting at surface and certainly mineable grades. And again, all within our private lands. So, and we haven't drilled a hole past 300 meters. So it's really important to point out that tremendous upside remains. Certainly a highlight hole for us so far is, 105 meters of 1.17% copper and 0.55 grams per ton gold. So 105 meters of 1.42% copper equivalency. And that's all within within 193 meters. Once again, starting at 27 meters, all within this 3 kilometer trend. So, tremendous upside. And I often say we're just beginning to scratch the surface. Literally, we're scratching the surface here at Corral Copper. I should add, essentially it was really only last fall when we finished corralling all of the property together, which led us to do the raise and certainly execute from a very successful phase 1 drill program. So I feel we're off to a great start with tremendous upside ahead. Quickly, so our, only about 30 kilometers from Corral Copper is our Tombstone South project. Tombstone South is a Taylor Hermosa deposit type of analog, which many might know was bought by South 32 for $1.3 billion back in 2018. However, important to remind everyone that our project is not in a national forest, which can certainly delay permitting. Tombstone South has all of the right components for what we think is a new discovery of high-grade silver, lead, zinc, and certainly the right host rocks. Silver drilled on this project is within the same type of manganese, similar to the Hermosa deposit, and South 32 determined that their manganese was also battery grade, which enabled them to enter into the FAST 41 process. So quickly, here's a conceptual type of cross-section that illustrates our targets. There's a porphyry off to the northwest, and while it's a lower grade porphyry, its importance to these large CRDs, the heat source of some of the other mineralization is key. And then we have that major fault that will provide some of the fluid flow. So we have all of the right rocks, certainly where the limestones get replaced with some of the massive sulfides. So the first thing we did, large dipole IP survey, which would enable us to see a little deeper into the limestone units. While you can often get some type of anomaly from geophysics, what we were most excited about is the strength and the location of the anomaly. It's a strong chargeability anomaly, blind chargeability anomaly. In the upper units where these large CRDs typically form, adjacent to the fault, the fluid flow, and you can see some of the previous shallow drilling never tested the limestone units, but still had high grade silver and zinc in some of those holes. Therefore, the source itself could very well be this chargeability anomaly. We want to ideally drill it this fall when we go back and do some more drilling at Corral Copper. Just real quickly, I'll touch on Mesa Well. This is our earliest stage project, certainly in the right area with the right host rocks that can lead to another new large discovery. You can see here that we're in the heart of copper country with all of the majors in the area, BHP, Freeport, and certainly some developers like Faraday Copper, who just recently raised $23 million to advance their Copper Creek project. It's only about 30 kilometers from our project. The attraction was certainly previous drilling to the north showed that the alteration and the mineralization intensity was increasing as the drilling was moving towards our project. So our view vectoring towards a source. So while this is still an earlier stage project, this project as well has tremendous potential for a new discovery. Will require a little additional field work in geophysics before we start looking to drill. Just lastly, real quick, touch on, we have a very lean but impressive leadership team. Mark Morbido and I have worked together on several projects, two of which he's taken all the way to the New York Stock Exchange. Mark's raised over 900 million in the markets and has tremendous experience in the state of Arizona in particular, as well as Cochise County. Chris Osserman, PhD, who Robert got to meet, has certainly a track record of initial discoveries all over the globe. He's based in Tucson, and then here in Vancouver, where I'm based, we have Dan and Alan, who each again have a successful track record of exploration and new discoveries. Boards made up of technical, legal, financial expertise, and have several other advisors that can certainly add value and help us as needed. So with that, I'll take any questions. And once again, thanks, Robert, and thanks to MIF for inviting me.
Thanks, Ken. That was a great presentation. So my question would be, you're thinking around phase two. You still have some, results still pending from phase one, but I'm, looking ahead towards year end. What is your thinking around phase two in terms of the size of the program? Will it be 2 drill rigs? You mentioned Tombstone South. You said you like to drill that at the same time as you're doing phase two later in the year. Will you just take a rig and move it to Tombstone to put in a few holes there? Yeah, just, what are your thoughts on phase two?
Yeah, listen, I think, once again, as I mentioned, we just finished corralling all of this. We just completed our initial drill program. So we're just starting to see some of this core for the first time. We have some historical geophysical data. We've done some recent mapping. So we want to piece the story all together. So I certainly see phase two at Corral Copper being larger than phase one. I'm not quite ready to commit to a number. That being said, Tombstone South's a real exciting opportunity. We hit what we expect to hit at Tombstone South. It will be a game changer for the company. Both of them being so close, we could share the same, core facility, kind of resources, everything that we need. So I'm not prepared to add a number quite yet, but we still have 3 million in the till. I think that can give us the capital that we need to really execute on additional drilling at Corral Copper as well as Tombstone South.
Okay. And then for those who don't really understand how things work in the US, what percentage of your property package there in Arizona do you have both the surface rights and the mining rights to?
Yeah, so I often say we've got 1,800 acres of private lands. So the majority of that is made up of patent mining claims, which I touched on. To drill, we just had to call the county. It's our backyard. We can build roads. We can drill wherever we want. The one Ringo zone that I identified within that 3 kilometer trend, it does have BLM mineral. which we have certainly, but then we own the surface rights over top. So from a permitting standpoint to the BLM, as an example, we did have to provide a notice of intent to drill. We identified where the surface owners, we have no objections to us drilling this area, and we got our drill permit in just a few short weeks. So, within that 3 kilometer trend, once again, which is our private lands, that's still less than 15% of our entire property. So we got tremendous upside, certainly from the drill bit as well.
All right, final question. Someone from the audience is asking for your contact info.
Certainly you can reach the contact info. You go to our website. We got way more information than certainly I tried to cover here, but you can certainly email me at kbrophy@intrepidmetals.com.